Dhoruba Bin-Wahad and Naji Mujahid's comments on why they were denied access into Palestine while black elected officials, entertainers, basketball players, and mainstream civil rights leaders are permitted guided tours of Israel. Monday, November 23, 2009. The humiliation and frustration that we endured was a small taste of what we can be sure the Palestinians go through on a daily basis. After visiting the Palestinian Authority's consulate in Amman, Jordan, it was tragic to hear them admit their impotency in the situation, that there was nothing they could do to help, and in fact, even their president, Mahmoud Abbas, was at the mercy of the border control whenever he wanted to pass through in either direction. We recognize this as a blatant affront to many of the human rights codified in international law. This kind of audacity flies in the face of the universally accepted rights of self-determination, freedom of movement and travel, and the prohibition against colonialism, to name a few. This is madness of the highest order, and 60 years of this, as well as the accompanying apathy, capitulation, and complicit support by the United States, particularly black leaders and lawmakers, and others, has normalized this situation and successfully vilified the righteous struggle of the Palestinian people.
When Naji, Mujahid, and myself were asked to attend a conference in the occupied territory of Palestine that dealt with the illegal incarceration of Palestinians, we accepted the invitation. The struggle for Palestinian self-determination and democracy, like all struggles for liberation from tyranny and exploitation, are essentially the struggle between irreconcilable ideas. There is the false idea that the freedom of a few can be achieved through repression, military occupation, and racist exceptionality, versus the ideas of self-determination, liberty, and rectification of historical injustices imposed upon an oppressed people. What I am saying here is that the Israelis did not deny us entry into Palestine for legitimate security reasons, but to prevent the ideas of freedom and human rights from infecting their own people. Ultimately, we were barred because of what we think, and not for any other reason. The European settler state of Israel claims to be a democratic society in a region of autocratic regimes. This is belied by the treatment of people of color, Palestinians, and other people who disagree with the philosophy of Zionism. These people are categorized and treated very differently than anyone else. Such a state is its own worst enemy. In the United States, the struggle between the ideals of freedom and democracy versus the legitimate empowerment of its historical victims, that is African Americans, indigenous people, as well as the plight of immigrants seeking a better life, are reduced to legal formulas in much the same way as the European settler state of Israel, with the help of its white supremacist friends and allies in Europe and America, attempt to legitimize the historical usurpation of Arab lands. What we are witnessing in the 21st century is the legalization of lies and the criminalization of truth by violent-prone governments. The U.S. government quashes dissent and opposition to injustices, white skin privilege, and militarism by passing laws that surreptitiously define human empathy for the poor and helpless as subversive. The Patriot Act epitomizes the notion that all American citizens are potential subversives rather than potential freedom-loving human beings who support justice and human equality. Under such circumstances, respect for the law then becomes submission to tyranny of the state and disdain for the humanity and rights of those that the state have defined as its enemies. The American people in general, and African Americans in particular, fail to realize that America has extremist enemies because of its policies and not despite them.